This is the third, yes, the third attempt at writing this script. When I say words can't describe the love I hold for this series, well, it's quite literal, seeing as I'm writing the third Bible or something. Enough rambling about the script itself, though. I've watched a lot of anime since I got into the genre in 2020, and while I've seen shows that range from why didn't someone stop me, to I didn't deserve to watch something this amazing, not a whole lot could really be an S tier anime, or maybe a meat ride tier in my case. If I had to name a single piece of media that I can undoubtedly place in that tier though, it would have to be the Clannad series. Ever since I watched it in February 2022, I've been in love with this series, and when I finally played the visual novel a year later, alongside rewatching the anime for this review, that love was not only reignited, but burned even brighter than before. I could make a really fucked up reference right now, but let's not do that. All dark jokes aside, Clannad has been my #1 pick for the greatest anime of all time since I ever watched it. And in this video, I'll be explaining why I love this series so much, and why I think that I may never find an anime that tops this one. Spoilers will be discussed in this video, so be careful as you watch this. I'll try not to spoil the fact that Batman kills Tomoya in episode 15. Wait, but you more than likely know about Clannad already if you've clicked on this video, but if not, don't worry, I got you covered. Clannad was originally released in 2004 as a visual novel by Key, and it later received an anime adaptation in 2007 by Kyoto Animation, who've done some really great stuff over the years that I might also talk about in future videos. The series revolves around the lives of Tomoya Okazaki and Nagisa Furukawa, who befriend each other and begin growing very close as they work to re-establishing the drama club, which had been shut down just a year ago. Without any further context, it sounds like your pretty basic rom-com anime plot, with a generic fated meeting, a goal that the main protagonists work towards, ending with romance. But Clannad is written so well that you forget how simple the plot is when you dig into it. That leads us into the first part of this video, and the first reason that I love Clannad as much as I do. The plot of Clannad is absolutely amazing. While the first season isn't as emotional as most expect, diving into the show for the first time, there are plenty of powerful, sad, and happy moments in this season, and it's quite a shame that a lot of people actually find this season boring. Yeah, that's a thing. Season 1 adapts 4 routes from the visual novel, which I will likely cover in a future video itself. We see Fuko's goal of getting the school to attend her older sister's wedding, seeing as she was a former teacher there, Kotomi and Tomoyo reuniting after Tomoyo forgot about the time that they spent as kids, Tomoyo's campaign for student council president, and the build-up of Nagisa and Tomoya's relationship, ending with a confession after the Founders Festival. Nothing felt slow, underdeveloped, or out of place, and despite Tomoya having many love interests, at no point did Clannad ever feel like a cheap harem anime. It steers things in the right direction very well, as late into season 1, Nagisa falls ill and misses school for a while, and it's a theory that Tomoya began appreciating the time he spent with Nagisa more now than she was absent, allowing the two to be even closer once she returned, evident by how Tomoya reacted when she was struck by a stray tennis ball in one episode. After story begins to take things beyond a typical high school rom-com anime, focusing on Yohei and his sister Mei's relationship, Misai's mysterious high school love who came to grant her a wish, and Yukine's involvement with groups of delinquents outside of school. Tomoya graduates, and usually this is where the anime would end. But this is Clannad, we're just getting started, baby! He enters the workforce, taking a job at an electrical company, and moves into his own apartment. Nagisa, who had to repeat her senior year a second time, poor her, that's all I could say, eventually follows with him, and they go on to get married. Out of all the rom-com I've seen, this is the only one that has brought us from high school to adulthood and even marriage. I truly appreciate just how broad this anime gets, and it only gets better. Clannad defies any and all norms, and the two plan to have a child together. Out of all the rom-com I've seen, this is the only one that has taken such a massive step in that direction. While there have been some certainly sad moments, we haven't witnessed anything all that tragic, aside from some flashbacks of certain characters, but that's all about to change, as Nagisa is forced to have the baby at home due to horrible weather. Nagisa passes away after giving birth, plunging into dark territory that not many anime that I've seen have touched. This scene in Nagisa's final moments was executed, animated, and played out so amazingly. It had me on edge the entire time that I first watched, and I even tried to convince myself that Nagisa was just fine in the next episode, but I ultimately had to face the harsh truth that we lost a great one. Regardless of how I felt, Tomoya was hit even harder, as he falls off hard and leaves Ushio, his daughter, to Nagisa's parents, being unable to care for her himself. We also see Tomoya repairing his relationship with not only Ushio, but even his father, whom he hated throughout the entire series up to this point, after he fell to alcohol when his wife passed away. In a sick case of irony, Tomoya not only saw a similar fate, but turned out worse, but was able to redeem himself in the end. Ushio eventually falls ill and insists on going on another trip regardless. Tomoya agrees, possibly knowing Ushio was not going to make it much longer. Sure enough, they don't make it far before she collapses and passes away. You know, after this show, I think I hate snow. I'm never even going to see cocaine the same at this point, goddammit. To explain Clannad's ending, I want to go ahead and move on to our next topic. It's kind of hard for me to give my own input on the Illusionary world. It's such a unique aspect of Clannad, and it made no sense to me the first time that I watched it. This is rom-com anime. Why is there some random liminal crap every other episode? Well, that wasn't exactly my train of thought, but it sure did feel weird at first. In the beginning, the Illusionary world seems to have no connection to our main world. This is a desolate place populated by just one young girl who builds this garbage doll to keep her company. All that aside, I really like the Illusionary world. The animation seems a hell of a lot smoother here, and which really fits the vibe somehow. And everything just looks beautiful here. Don't even get me started on the soundtrack. I can make an entire video on the Clannad soundtrack if I really wanted to, and hell, I'm honestly considering it. Towards the end of the series, everything starts to make sense regarding the world, unless you're stupid like me and needed to Google the details for the video. Yay, it's nice to have 4 IQ. The Illusionary world was created by Ushio of all people. The Illusionary girl you saw so much of, yeah, that's Ushio. And the garbage doll she built is Tomoya. The irony is that in the main world, Tomoya created Ushio, but in the Illusionary world, seemingly the opposite. Anyway, Ushio created the Illusionary world in order to collect these light orbs which can grant one's wish when they appear in order to save her family from the fate that we all know too well. And after Ushio's death, the light swallows up this world and Tomoya is taken back to the moment he met Nagisa. Rather than ignore her and let her survive by not meeting him, he chases her down and embraces her, and he then returns to the moment that Nagisa gave birth. This time, she miraculously survives, and they get the happy ending Ushio wished for. That's the last we see of the Illusionary world, and Clannad ends with a happy ending. Some see it as a cop-out of sorts, but while it isn't the greatest ending in anime history, it's still pretty good. Let's put it like this. If the time-altering thingy didn't happen, what is left for Clannad to do? There's really nobody left at this point, and I just can't see how a satisfying ending, sad or happy, could be written. For adapting the light orbs concept for the visual novel, I think they did a pretty good job with the ending and other utilizations of these orbs. Another thing about Clannad is that all the characters are just amazing. Some of them have flaws, quirks, or a different appearance by their cover, but that's okay. My least favorite characters in Clannad are really only my least favorite due to a lack of depth or screen time, like Katsuki, Sugisaka, and some others around that level. They themselves aren't even actually terrible characters, they just aren't enough for me to like or dislike them. While not my favorite character, I think Nagisa is one of the best in the show. That sentence may not make sense to you, but hear me out. My personal favorite character from the series is Yukine, but I can't really sit here and deny that Nagisa is a top-tier character. Sure, she puts others over herself a lot. Sure, she's very sensitive and easily prone to crying and is weak and always gets sick. But the love she has for Tomoya is undeniable. She's always there for him. Tomoya is another amazing character. She's caring just like Nagisa is and would be a great fit for Tomoya if Nagisa was just out of the picture. And Yukine has a really warm personality, and I would kill a man to spend an hour in that reference room because it seems like just a chill place. Bonus points if Tea Party in the reference room plays in the background while I sip on some coffee. I really don't want to talk about the rest of the characters all too much, as it's just going to boil down to, oh, she has this flaw or this vibe, but she's actually very kind and caring. But just know that I like just about every significant Clannad character, though my runaway favorites by far are Nagisa, Fuko, Kotomi, Tomoyo, and Yukine, who sits atop at number 1. There's one other character that I want to briefly discuss, and that's Ryo. Some people who may be watching this video may already know this, but I held a bitter hatred for this girl for quite some time, because half the time she can hardly form a coherent sentence, which only gets worse when you read the visual novel, which has a lot more Ryo.
What's going on, guys? Magome Magic here, and in today's video we're going to be playing Clannad, the visual novel. And in this one, we are going to skip all of Ryo's lines. That was just one line. Now for the rest.
Once I got to her route, though, and actually got deeper into it, I started appreciating her a lot more. So, where do I even begin about the comedy? Clannad is about one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. Despite how sad it can get at times, Clannad can also have you laughing your ass off the whole day, and that's even more the case when you play the visual novel. So notable running gags include how horrible Nagisa's mother's bread is, leading her to running out of the store crying, being chased by her husband with bread in his mouth, proclaiming about how much he loves them. And early on, the rivalry between Tomoyo and Yohei, when Yohei was convinced that she was a dude after she warded off some delinquents causing a ruckus on the campus. Despite acting all tough, he would get his ass kicked every single time he charged at her. One of my favorite all-time scenes, comedy scenes, one of my all-time favorite Clannad One of my all-time favorite comedy scenes in Clannad was when Nagisa drank alcohol for the first time. And once you see it for yourself, you understand why I think it's so funny.
智也君、
はい。
そんなにお母さんが気になりますか？
早苗の胸はでかいぞ。
I would love to play a reel for some of my favorite comedic bits throughout Clannad, but the copyright monster is waiting for the moment I bend over, and I'd rather not show my hiney along with it. Just watch Clannad yourself, you'll love it. If I haven't already convinced you of such, keep watching. Like I already mentioned earlier, I can make an entire video about just the soundtrack for this series, which is something I never thought I'd be capable of doing. I don't know if I will, but for now, let's briefly discuss the soundtrack. To make things easier, I'll mostly just talk about the visual novel songs, most of which were featured in the anime as well. The legend responsible for a majority of the songs in the soundtrack were, and I do greatly apologize if I fuck up all these names, Jun Maeda, Shinji Orito, and Magome Togoshi. And the soundtrack was released in 2004. After 2 decades, this music has continued to be amazing. There's really only one song that I don't like, that being Dumb, which is a fitting title considering it's Yohei's theme. There's actually 2 different versions of this one, the original version which came with the original visual novel, and the 2015 version which is more electronic and dubstep. I'll be frank here, I don't like either of them. They're not so terrible that I have to mute my computer while it's playing, but it just isn't something I'd listen to if given the choice.
I tried to download Clannad for free on this Russian website, and now there's gay porn all over my device.
Spring Breeze, Country Lane, and A Pair of Idiots, the 3 songs you'll likely be hearing the most in both the anime and the visual novel, are really great. The more emotional songs, such as To the Same Height, Shining in the Sky, Distant Years, The Palm of a Tiny Hand, and many more, are beautifully made. Every song fits the mood, vibe, or personality perfectly. Kyo's theme matches her energy, Yukine's theme matches her really calm personality, and the vibe that the reference room in general gives off. The emotional songs capture emotional moments perfectly, and the more dramatic scenes have some fitting music as well. The happier moments also get similar treatment. I'll likely go further into depth about all the music in a later video, as I don't want to drag this segment on too long. For now though, I highly recommend listening to the Clannad soundtrack on your own time. It is by far one of my favorite pieces of media in the music category. Clannad has touched me far more than any other anime I've seen. I've given multiple other shows a 10 out of 10 rating, but they just can't compare to this series. Blend S is a very entertaining and hilarious show that never bored me. Season 2 of Chunibyo, which is apparently not very well liked, was one that I particularly enjoyed. Season 3 of Love is War was the peak of the series. Canon gave me Clannad-like vibes and was another really great show that I might cover in a video. Love Life School Idol Project was a great show that introduced me to idol anime. Toradora was my second favorite anime of all time, and Madoka Magica got me really emotional towards the end. Violet Evergarden was the closest to perfection that any other anime has come for me, as I cried my eyes out in 10 of the 12 episodes of this series. But despite that, it lacked the comedy and depth that Clannad gives us, which is why it can't even overtake Clannad in my heart and ratings. It's been a year since I first experienced this masterpiece, and I've watched around 30 more anime since, but nothing has come close to dethroning Clannad. So despite what some may think, I have my doubts that anything is going to dethrone my love for Clannad at any point. And maybe things are better off that way. Clannad takes you on a journey with the characters in a way that most anime just don't do, and the depth that everyone has is absolutely amazing, truly giving you a chance to cry with the characters, rather than crying for them. Is Clannad technically perfect, though? I can't exactly say that. In my heart it is, but I do have a very limited number of complaints about Clannad, both the visual novel and the anime, which I'll briefly discuss here. My biggest complaint by far lies within the Mei arc/route in both the visual novel and the anime, specifically Mei's efforts to get the soccer team to let Yohei back on. Her reasoning for doing this is so Yohei can return to his old self, as he was happier playing soccer. He was chasing his dream, and he would brag to Mei about his efforts, but after getting kicked off the team after a fight, things changed. Yohei didn't have direction in life, falling to delinquency where he would meet Tomoya, and he also grew more distant from his little sister. Even after learning how toxic the soccer team was, and not even knowing herself if it was the best thing for him, she still insisted on getting him back onto the team, which only resulted in her suffering because of it, going as far as being harassed by the soccer guys, where Yohei would blaze in and save the day. While it was amazing to see that Yohei still cared for his sister and was still willing to risk everything to protect her, this all just felt really forced. That was by far my biggest gripe. Everything else is significantly small, such as the fact that the baseball episode that opens off After Story is a carbon copy of the plot from the basketball episode in Season 1. The protagonist getting an early lead, then the more experienced opponents rallying to take the lead themselves, the Tomoya defining his shoulder injury to win the game at the end. Granted, each of these games was fairly entertaining, so it's not all that bad that a lot of stuff is to say, but it's still something I picked up on. My fourth and final gripe lies within the visual novel, and I'll more than likely touch up on this in the visual novel video if I get around to it, but Cappei's route in the game is significantly lower than the rest in my rankings, and there's a variety of flaws with the route that prevent it from being great, and it makes sense that Cappei was cut from the anime adaptation completely. Other than all that though, I have no problems with Clannad, and these issues hardly even make a dent in my passion and love for the series, it's still a 10 out of 10 in just about every aspect that I could possibly think of. And that pretty much just concludes this video. 3 scripts and I finally said everything I wanted to say. Clannad is a truly amazing series on a whole other level from anything else that I've seen, and I'm beyond happy that I got a chance to check the series out, and I feel the same way about finally reading the visual novel. I absolutely recommend Clannad to anyone looking for an emotion-packed, hilarious, heartwarming, and overall amazing series to watch. And I also recommend the visual novel, as there's a lot of differences, lines, and fun things to do that'll make this 80+ hour visual novel worth your valuable time. If you enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like and consider subscribing to the channel, as that helps a lot in pushing this video out to more views in the algorithm. Comments and feedback or even suggestions are all highly appreciated. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about one of my favorite anime, and I'll see you all in another video. Peace out.